This work session of the Village Board of Trustees to order on Tuesday, the 26th of September. I'll make a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. At this time, I would call everyone to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you all very much. There's no public comment because this is a work session, so we will move to board presentations. Do we have Patty Dwyer on the, yes, I think I see her there. So Sage, we'll ask her to be brought in at this time, please. Okay, Patty, I'm going to turn it over to you. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, Patty.
Oh, it's terrific. It's a pleasure to be here. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening, Patty.
I'm going to be presenting this evening the results of a survey that was undertaken on behalf of the village back in June of 2023. The survey was designed to collect data and information regarding elected officials, terms of office, compensation, and health insurance plan participation. Source Municipal Solutions was engaged for this project. Just a little preamble about us. We are a women-owned WBE certified by New York State and New York City, a small business that opened up in 2018, established by me as the principal and owner. After a 31-year career as an appointed official in New York State, primarily serving local governments and villages throughout Westchester County and Orange County. So it gives me great pleasure to work on behalf of the Village of Southampton and present some of the findings of this survey that was collected after surveying approximately 75 villages throughout Westchester, Nassau, and Suffolk counties. So if you just give me 1 second, I'm going to share my screen.
Sure, thank you.
Okay, how is that? Is this appearing?
Yes, it is.
Okay, terrific. I'll run through this. It'll take probably anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes just to get through the data, and then we can have a little bit of a Q&A shortly after. Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay. So again, we targeted villages in Westchester, Suffolk, and Nassau counties and posed certain questions to them regarding their terms of office, compensation, and health insurance plan participation for elected officials. The purpose of the survey was, again, to gather data and to compare information pertaining to those attributes and issues of organization. So we asked a series of questions, starting with where exactly is your village located, and our dispersion of answers came from Nassau, Suffolk, and Westchester. A fairly good sample, representative sample. Suffolk County has, I believe, about 31 villages. We've gotten responses back from 17. Those that we did not get responses back were some of the smaller villages that have populations less than 2,000. Westchester, we got almost a full data set back from, and Nassau County, we've got 16 responses. There is supplemental data at the end of this study that shows who the 55 respondents are in this survey. Here's another way of looking at that particular question. 16 from Nassau, 17 from Suffolk, and 22 from Westchester responded. We also asked who is responsible for supervising, managing, and coordinating day-to-day activities in the village. we did this to gain an understanding as to whether or not these communities were managed on a day-to-day basis by an elected official or an appointed official. And you could see that predominantly these villages were managed by either administrators, managers, or clerks. Mayors and board trustees had a less of a role in dealing with day-to-day management. We also were asked to determine how many years are in one full term of office for certain positions. So we asked for each of these individually because they did vary in certain communities. When we asked how many years are in one full term of office for the position of mayor, out of the 55 respondents, 63% said that single term is 2 years. Two respondents had terms of 3 years, and then 18 had said that a single term consists of 4 years. And here's just another way of looking at that data.
Mm-hmm.
When we asked how many years are in one full term of office with the position of trustee, we see just a slight variation here, but predominantly the answer was 2 years constitute a single term for almost 62% of the survey respondents. And finally, we asked that question with respect to the elected position of village justice. In 10 of the villages out of 55 surveyed, this position did not exist. But in those that did, 4-year terms seemed to be the benchmark for almost 70% of the survey respondents. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So then we went on to ask about term limits and if elected officials were subject to them. Overwhelmingly, the answer came back no. Almost 93% of the communities that were surveyed said that there were no term limits in the village. We then asked how many terms can someone serve as a mayor? And again, we had unlimited terms, 51 out of 55, 2 terms for one community, 3 terms for another community. And then we had responses that were other than those that were listed as choices available. Those others ranged from, let's see what we've got here, 5 terms for the village of Bellport. And then Islandia commented that other meaning until they are not elected anymore, which basically been unlimited terms, but I thought that was rather clever because that should have been a choice. They were correct, until not elected. So that was, this one you think you have everything covered, you don't. So here's another way of looking at that particular question, unlimited terms, almost 93% for the position of mayor. Similar question for trustee, similar results. Approximately 93% unlimited terms. Village justice in those villages that had the position, 76% or 42 had said that there were unlimited terms, and there were term limits in 3 other communities, one again being until no longer elected. Okay, so then we asked about compensation. Is the mayor paid an annual salary or stipend? 78% said yes. 43 out of 55. Are trustees paid an annual salary or stipend? Again, 76% said yes. That was 42 out of 55. And finally, is the elected justice paid an annual salary or stipend? Out of the survey where 45 villages have justices, 41 are compensated. We also asked if any of the following positions are reported to the New York State retirement system as full-time paid positions in these villages. And we asked if that of the elected officials, whether or not the mayor is considered a full-time paid position, whether the trustees are, or whether the justice is. So in 48 out of 55, none of them were considered full-time. In 6 communities, the mayor was considered full-time. The trustees were considered full-time in 2 communities and justices in 3. And we asked that because we thought there could have been some relevance to this answer with respect to health insurance, but actually there really was little correlation to that. So here we have some of the questions pertaining to the plan participation. We've asked, can elected officials participate in your village's group health insurance plan while they're actively serving the village? And here we find that a very slim majority said no, that elected officials cannot participate, that they are prohibited either by law or by local policy. And 26 out of 55 said yes, if they want to, they can participate. We then asked if participation is limited to enrollment in an individual plan, and of the 55, again, 29 said this is not applicable because they do not participate, and the balance who said they do said that 24%, 24 of them said no, they are not limited to enrollment in individual plans, and only 2 said that they are. And again, I have data on this in the back of the report, supplemental, as to what communities are offering the health insurance plans. So we did ask then what percentage of premiums are paid by the elected officials who participate in the plan. And this also ran the gamut of responses. So during active years of service, out of those that participate, 12 said that they don't have any copay, or 21%. 1 has a 5% copay, 2 have 10%, 2 have 15%, 1 had 20, 1 had 25, 5 had 100%, and 2 had others, and they consisted of, let's see, Ocean Beach had a 10% contribution for individuals plan participation, but a full differential if they chose family. And East Hampton has a 3% of salary contribution. Here's another way of looking at that question. Again, 29 do not allow participation, but of those that do, you can see the dispersion there of contributions to premium while they're active. We then asked, can elected officials participate in the health insurance plan when they are no longer active? And we had less of a participation rate at this level of service. We see the number go from 29 to 36 in terms of not able to participate. And of the 19 that do participate, we have a breakdown of what their contributions are as well. We asked what the minimum number of years of service required, if any, are in order to participate in health insurance after serving the village. And again, out of the 55, there are 36 that say this doesn't apply, that there's no participation. But those that do have participation after service said, 4 said that there's no minimum service requirement, 5 years for 3 of them, 10 years for 11, 15 years minimum. Nobody chose 15, sorry for that. 20 years was one response, and then nothing for other. So the majority of communities that provide for health insurance plan participation after actively serving the village require a minimum of 10 years. We also wanted to know if participation at that point is limited to enrollment in individual plan. And again, the answer came back predominantly no, it's not limited to an individual plan. And finally, we asked, what is the percentage of health insurance plan premiums paid by the elected officials who no longer are actively serving the village? And you could see again, this ran the gamut in terms of the percent of premiums that were being paid. Six communities had no copays. 3 had 15%, 2 had 20, 3 had 25, 3 had 100, 2 had others, and those others were East Hills had no contribution for individual, but 20% for family. And Lynbrook had a sliding scale, which I have available in the supplemental data. Here's another way of looking at that question. For those that do provide for health insurance when the elected official is no longer active.
Patty, sorry to interrupt, but quick question, is Southampton Village included in this data, or is this everybody except Southampton Village?
No, thank you for that question. The village is included in the data. Okay, so with respect to summaries, the summary and the recommendations, I broke this out looking at the questions that were posed, or the data that was collected in different categories here, and looked at the village of Southampton's situation compared to the survey participants. And there's a number of conforming practices you have or policies you have that are in line with the other villages with a high rate of alignment and conformity. In particular, the full-time administration being conducted by an appointed official. That's a predominantly aligned value with the other survey participants. Having part-time elected officials is a predominantly aligned value. Compensation for elected officials is as well, unlimited terms, 2-year terms for board members and 4-year terms for justice. All of those elements of your organization seem to comport to the majority of villages that we surveyed in this sample size. Those policies or practices that are essentially non-conforming that Southampton has surveyed all involve health insurance participation. Right now, you're allowing health plan participation while active. That's a marginally opposing value, since the majority of communities we surveyed did not allow healthcare participation while active. With respect to not requiring contributions while you're in service, that is also an opposing value compared to what the other communities who are allowing participation while active. They do require contributions, the majority of them. Your investment period is 5-year, when predominantly that is an opposing value as well. Most communities are requiring a minimum of 10. And post-plan participation is also something that, while it is not offered to the majority of communities, there's still, you still deviate from the contributions that are required for post-plan participation. So there are a couple of things here that the board, will be interested in pursuing further. At a minimum, it's recommended that there are policies in place that provide for the provision of, health plan participation while active and during retirement. It's advisable that the board review and act on any policy that it puts in place at least annually at your organizational meeting. That's probably a good time to restate what these terms and conditions of these benefits would be for elected officials. It ensures transparency and actually speaks to good governance. So based on the survey findings and some considerations of your current policies, your organizational-wide policies that are in place right now for department heads and others who are not unionized in the workplace, there are a couple of recommendations that I would put forward here, for your further consideration. For the term and times when elected officials are actively serving the village. It's suggested that they continue to be able to participate in group health insurance, provided they don't have access to health insurance from another employer, meaning that the village is essentially their primary employer, and that they make premium contributions in accordance with the village's organizational practices that currently are at a minimum 20% of premiums or 5% of salary, whichever is less for those people who are in the non-competitive positions and also department heads. With respect to post-active service, again, the recommendation would be to allow participation provided that there's no access to health insurance from any other employer, and that there be two other conditions: a minimum number of years required to be served, and also contributions toward plan premiums made on a sliding scale basis. That is in line with what you currently have as policies for department heads and non-represented employees. And I've put here, at least in text, what your current sliding scale is for those employees that are retired with certain years of service from the village. And I would suggest that that become at least some sort of talking point for the board moving forward with how you want to proceed with your own policies for elected officials. The supplemental documentation that follows this report is going to be very hard for you to see, but this is essentially the census of communities that participated. You'll see here the salaries for mayor, trustee, and justices for these communities in Nassau, Suffolk, and Westchester. I do have mean, median, and mode information available as well. We'll speak to that. There is a big difference in the salaries for mayor if there are full-time mayors in these communities or considered full-time versus the position being part-time positions.
Excuse me, Patty.
Yeah, also, this is the cheat sheet on the communities that are allowing participation in health in the group health plan. The first column is what communities do allow it. There's 26 that provide it while in service, and there's a little bit of an anomaly. The Village of Larchmont does not provide it while in service, but does provide it post-service, so the census data is a little off, but nonetheless, 26 do allow it, and you can see those that provide it at no cost, those that provide it with certain conditions, and then the post-service requirements, and whether or not there are any particular considerations that must be met, such as years of service or eligibility requirements. I also-
Pat, just with respect to the sliding scale chart,
Sure.
and I'm thinking of Medicare eligibility, the requirement would be when you are Medicare eligible that would become the primary? Did you investigate that with the other entities?
That's actually a requirement from NISHIP. Our
Yes.
health provider requires that.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, you would have to enroll. That's correct. Sure. Is that you, Charlene? Hello.
That's me.
Hello. So yes, that would go back to find.
I'm sorry, just.
No, don't. It's a very good question. Okay, so yeah, so just circling back, maintaining conforming practices and then resolving the non-conforming practices, going into the healthcare participation issues here. Okay, so this other cheat sheet here was showing us those communities that do allow participation in the group health insurance plans while active and post-active, and what other requirements there may be to enable that. Some require that the elected officials be retirement eligible. Some require that they retire directly from the community. Some only make the plan available to the mayors. Some only make them available to the justices. There's a whole bunch of little conditions here, so it was easier for me to lay it out this way, so you can take a closer look at where you fall, in this comparative analysis. But as you can see, Southampton here, no cost to participate while in service, no cost to participate post-service, and then a 5-year minimum. There really is not any other community that has that sort of structure and value assigned to to that benefit. So that's something that I think, you wanted to answer, and I think the survey does answer that question as to where you fall.
So you're really speaking about the time you leave the employment of the village to your retirement. So that window in there, is that what you're speaking about, which is unique
Well-
to Southampton Village?
You,
Say
You're
you're,
asking, I know that's you. You're saying the 5 years of service requirement?
no, after the, no. After you leave the employment, you're no longer employed by the village.
Right.
And before your retirement, there's a window there that the Southampton Village pays for the health insurance.
Yes, there would be if you currently provide that after 5 years of service, an elected official will be eligible to participate. You don't seem to have, a trigger that says that they must also be retirement eligible. So
Right.
theoretically, someone can leave the board at any age, provided they have 5 years of service, and they can participate in your health plan at no cost. And when they hit that Medicare eligible age, they would just switch to a different level of the NISHIP plan. They would not be off of it. You'd still be paying for them, but the plan would be subordinate to Medicare.
To Medicare.
However, just so you know, because you're in NISHIP, you also have to reimburse their Medicare Part B.
Right.
Okay, and I think that's a universal truth
That's
with
right.
NISHIP. So you'd also have to reimburse any IRMA, which is supplemental Medicare tax that people pay if they're still over a certain income. So, but again, that's universal. That's not exclusive to Southampton. It has nothing to do with, it's just the conditions of the plan, because the village will be paying a lot less for that employee once they become retirement eligible and Medicare becomes their primary. So, right now, I think you're familiar with the premiums. Individual plan premiums in NISHIP are about $1,300 a month or $15,000 a year. The family plan is about $3,100 a month, a little over $37,000 a year. So it's a considerable amount of money, and it warrants the hard look that you're taking here. But I do think that you can glean from some of the neighboring communities, how they are dealing with some of these costs, and hopefully this information is useful to you. This here is also a summary of some of the data in a different format that shows comparative analysis. Basically says that the village of Southampton aligns with almost 90% of the other communities with respect to having an appointed official responsible for day-to-day administration. 63% alignment because your mayor has a 2-year term, 62% for trustee having a 2-year term, 84% for your justices having 4-year terms. Not having term limits, you're comporting to 93% of the survey sample population. Having the mayor and trustees paid salaries or stipend comports 78 and 76% to the rest of the sample populations. Having elected justices paid, that's almost a 91% correlation with 45% in the sample population that have that position. So I thought this data would be very useful for you as well. You can see the sample population for communities that have no contributions toward health insurance. For family or individual plans post-service is down to 19 because only 19 communities have provided for post-service health insurance. And of those, 32% have no contributions. So That's where I think, you need to take a hard look at your current practices. And there's just a little blurb here about NISHIP and how elected officials are able to participate, as the village is what they consider to be a participating agency. And you can see in 1C here, if you're an elected official, you can participate in NISHIP. And the village can make its rules and regulations on how participation should take place. So I'm going to stop screen sharing there for a minute so we can talk a little bit, but let's get back to that. And I could go back to any other information on the slides if you have questions about the data there. Okay?
Yeah, Patty, I want to say I think you did an excellent job here. This was quite exhaustive in the research and analysis you did on other municipalities, and the way you compiled the information. I think it's very helpful to the board as we look to come up with a new policy here in the village. So I really appreciate the time and effort that you put into compiling this on our behalf. So I want to thank you and certainly open this up to the board for questions that they may have. I know that some have already asked some questions, but if they have further questions, and Robin, I know you're zooming in, so if you have any questions, please feel free to ask those of Ms. Dwyer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. At this time, I'm satisfied. Thank you.
Thank you,
Okay.
Trustee Brown. Thank you.
Patty, my only question would be with reference to the village's relation to the other 54 respondents. Where would you say the village is in terms of its size, annual budget, or those figures? Is there a way to slice the data to get the village into, out of those 55 respondents, sort of a more closely aligned group in terms of the size of the budget and the size of the entity?
Yes, there absolutely is. In fact, I worked on that when I put, let me just see if I could share this data with you.
This is why Patty included samples from Nassau County and Westchester, because we really align more so with them. We're the largest East End village, but other villages in Suffolk County don't have the size of our budget, and they also don't have a police department. So Western Nassau, there are villages that have, overseeing a $33 million budget. A lot of small towns have a $33 million budget. So it's a pretty large entity with 123 employees. We are definitely the largest on the East End.
Yeah, you're an outlier in many ways. You
Right.
have a very small resident
We're
population.
well aware of that.
It's a gold star, let's put it that way. You have a very small year-round resident population, but we all know what happens in the height of the season, and your budget and your level of services have to gear up for that. What I'm showing you, if you could see, can you see this on the board? Can you see this data?
It's
Are
very
you
small,
looking at
Patty,
data
but
right
maybe
now?
you could help explain it a
Yeah.
little bit.
I'm just going to talk to what this is. I don't expect you to be able to see it, but I just want to share it and explain what I did here. This comes from the Office of the State Comptroller. It's considered level 1 data, and what it provides for me is a list of every village in Nassau, Suffolk, and Westchester County alphabetically. It also provides their last fiscal year reported to the State Comptroller, so I have an idea of their budgets. It also gives me population. So I did look at the smaller villages, the little boutique villages like Belterre, Baxter Estates, Asherokin, and I didn't include those, although originally I did, and I decided that they really have very little relevance to what we were looking at. So to Charlene's point, I certainly can pull out by population. Villages historically have populations that range in the 2 to 20,000 range, but there are some outliers. But there aren't any that have the size of, operating budget that you have for the size population you have. So it's very hard, to come up with comparables. I did think Westchester was probably full of villages that would have similar attributes for full service local governments like you have. So I thought that was a pretty good, pool to pull from. But again, and I know Westchester very well. I've worked there over 25 years myself. So I'm very familiar with every village there. And in fact, I was able to harangue almost all of my colleagues to participate in the survey so we could get good data. But I did use this, to try to wean out those communities that really were very small in terms of population size. And once you get to the state controller's website, you can sort these in all kinds of ways and pull this out. So I'd be happy to do that. If you would like to see that data represented a little differently, I can pull out the 55 villages and put them down by population and by budget, and you could see where they are. But Southampton is highlighted here. All told, there's about a $35 million operating budget from the year. Goes back to 2021, total expenditures and other uses. And I don't see anybody, coming close to you with the population that you have. So again, it was a pretty interesting exercise, to undertake. You really are a very unique community in lots of ways. Okay.
Thank you.
Anything else?
No, thank you, Patricia. That was a very succinct and complete report. Thank you.
No, that's my pleasure. Look, and if you want data broken down as to those communities, there's 18 of them that have I know there was some discussion about perhaps looking at extending the terms of the board members from 2 years to 4 years. There are some villages, only 2 right now, that have gone into a 3-year term, and I actually worked in one of them for 19 years, and I could tell you that was a wonderful situation because we had always an off year with no election, impeding the board from, having opportunities to do some more strategic planning and long range planning, not having to always worry about an election every other year. So there are 18 villages right now in the survey that are doing 4-year terms. And that is something that if you are pursuing, you may want to speak with the New York Conference of Mayors and other municipal officials for some guidance on, how to have that conversation with the community.
Does that seem to be a trend to go to longer terms?
I don't see it being a trend, Trustee Aresta. I think these communities have had it for quite some time. There may have been, I'm trying to see, at least 1, 2, 3, 4 of them are among the 6 in the sample survey that have full-time mayors. So to me, that made a little bit of sense that, if there is a full-time mayor, there is, probably a better organizational, outcome of having a longer term for that position. It just seems to make sense instead of having full-time administration, and part-time mayors. So I noticed that may be some bit of a correlation, but other than that, it runs the gamut from Farmingdale, Islandia, Amityville, Lynbrook, East Hampton, North Hills. It doesn't really make sense to me, who has 4-year and who has 2. It doesn't really jive with population or with budget. It's just a policy decision that the community made somewhere along the way. So, it may be a good opportunity to have that kind of community survey when you do reach out and you ask questions, to your community about different organizational aspects, if that's something they'd be interested in voting on. Okay.
Thank you.
Oh, quite welcome. And again, it was a pleasure to be able to work on behalf of the Village of Southampton. Charlene, it's always a pleasure working with you. I thank you
Ditto.
again for the opportunity, to present here tonight. And I'm available if there are any other follow-up questions or anything else you'd like us to look into with respect to this matter. Just don't hesitate to call, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Patty.
Thank you, Patty.
Quite welcome. All right, everyone.
Appreciate
Have
it.
a wonderful evening.
Thank
too.
you.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Okay, so we will move on to the treasurer's report. Charlene.
Yes. Treasurer's report for September 26th. We have our unaudited year-end results, which is a closer picture. We, spend the first few months after year-end, May 31st, in, paying some prior year bills, making some adjustments, year-end closing journal entries, recording depreciation, et cetera, for the financial statements. So we are, as of this, the close of business today, revenue for year-end 2023, adopted budget, we had budgeted 33.1. We received 37.2 million. As reported in previous reports, the revenue drivers, building permit revenue came in nearly $1.7 million over budget, 3.21 million collected. Mortgage tax revenue, we budgeted 975, came in at just under 1.9 million. Interest is probably the largest percentage increase over budget. We budgeted $25,000 before the current interest rate environment was actually the case, and we received just under $600,000 in revenue. Expenditures as of year end were slightly over budget. The lines of we budgeted 33.1 million, spent 33.2. Almost 33.3. We had a shortfall of about $400,000 in our legal lines, and health insurance came in a bit higher than expected as well. Overall projected year-end surplus for last fiscal year-end is about $3.9 million. The auditors have completed their field work at this point in time, and we expect financial statements before the Christmas holidays. First quarter results for this fiscal year, revenue collected so far is $30,038,000 of budgeted 33.7, and expended just under 13 million of our $33 million expenditure budget. On track for last year. The reason why our revenue is really front loaded because we collect all of our taxes in June. So that's $25 million of our budget is collected in the beginning of the year. And of course, same thing with our beach revenue, another large driver. The rest of it trickles in throughout the year. So the lion's share of our revenue is collected in the first quarter of the year. But it's used to pay our expenses for the other 3 quarters. And in the bank, it's getting a very high interest rate.
Yes.
So
Thanks to you, actually, for moving that
New York
money.
class, yes. Other items, we are in the process, of busy time of year for us. The auditors just finished their field work. Julie has been burning the midnight oil upstairs. She started working on the annual update document to be filed with State Comptroller's Office, which is due at the end of this week. She did participate in the new online reporting, and she actually thinks it's a lot easier than the old school method of downloading the software. We are getting prepared currently, preparing the official statement for our $6.8 million project for sustainability. We're going to be going out to bond market with that. We'll be going for a Moody's rating, hoping to get a upgrade there. So we're preparing documents for the official statement also. And on a final note, I am announcing that I have submitted my retirement filing with New York State, effective November 1st, and I just wanted to announce that. We've had discussion with the board about it in the recent weeks, but it's coming within the 1 month circle, so it's time for me to make that announcement. And I will say that during the 3-year term here with the village, I think we've made great strides, especially in fiscal responsibility. When I came on board, we were preparing a $33 million budget in Excel. That's certainly not the case anymore with state-of-the-art software and pie charts and graphs. We had 3-ply carbon copy purchase orders, which is no longer the case. We have our village board with their laptops approving electronic purchase requisitions, and we've implemented biometric time clocks, upgraded our website and our agenda, online agenda management, and it's been, a lot of work, but I think we've accomplished a great deal, and I really value my personal and professional relationships with Mayor Menger and Deputy Mayor Aresta and Trustees Zananti, Brown, and Stevenson, and Andrew.
There's still a couple of things we got to do before you leave.
If I may, thank you for the treasurer's report. You had presented it to the budget committee a few weeks ago, and I just want to say to you that you are singularly an extraordinary professional person, and I've thoroughly enjoyed working with you on the budget committee and, of course, here on the Board of Trustees. You're extremely smart, extremely capable, and you see so much that a lot of people in your position don't see. And it's been my pleasure to know you and work with you.
Thank you. Thank
She's
you
not
very
leaving yet. I have to ditto that. I can't say much more because Charlene, you and I have been through a lot together, and but the best thing about this past 3 years was getting to know you on a professional and a personal level. So I thank you for your time. I know we still got a way to go, but you know how much I appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right, I'm gonna reserve comments until the end of the meeting, I think. That's all right.
We've got another couple of weeks.
I know. No, we just started it.
Is there a
Len.
party?
Thank you. Told you.
All right, can we, actually, let's continue with
Let's
the
continue on the
communications to
agenda.
the board if we could,
Okay, sure.
please.
We have several communications. We have a correspondence from John Wumbold supporting the Southampton Community Gardens. We have correspondence from Gary Udell expressing concerns about the gardens. We have communications from Richard Stern, Barbara Reuter, and Christine Novotny, all supporting the Southampton Gardens in Pond Lane. We have correspondence from Amanda Fennell, commending the junior lifeguard program. Her children participated, and she thought it was a wonderful program, commending Christine Brennan. Correspondence from Olivia Lyons, Kathy Thomas, and Christian Pico, all, and Lisa Leak supporting Southampton Gardens. We have Emmanuel Didana, Cleo An, and Felipe Chang, and one latecomer, which I believe was, hold on one second, Kathy just handed it to me, Chelsea Blasco Bates, all supporting the community, Southampton Community Gardens project. And that is it for correspondence.
Thank you, Charlene. We have a discussion item that has been brought forward by trustee Zananti, so I will turn the floor to him to talk about Pond Lane traffic study.
Thank you, Mayor. We are in receipt of the transportation study performed by NPV for the Lake Agawam Conservancy. And while we certainly don't question the professionalism or the integrity of the work that NPV does, there has been some discussion about its validity from some quarters, and I think this board should discuss whether the village should or should not hire a third-party traffic expert to review and comment on the NPV study.
So this would be to take, we can't really do a study now, of course, because it's off-season.
It's to review and comment
To
on.
review and comment
Right.
on the study that's already been completed. And I do agree that MVP, that they're very professional, and unbiased and they have their professional integrity to uphold as well. But it might be a good idea for another set of eyes to look at the study that's already been done.
Roy, do you have a comment?
My only comment would be that is probably a good idea, but it should be made clear that the Lake Agawam Conservancy did not select Nelson, Pope, and Voorhees. That they were selected by the mayor, previous mayor, Mayor Warren, selected NPV to carry out the traffic study. So there can't be, there should not be any sentiment that somehow the Agawam Conservancy picked these guys because they felt they would get a positive response from them. That was the previous mayor's doing. That said, I do agree with Trustee Arestin Zananti that there is the perception perhaps that NPV has produced data that should be further vetted. So I would be willing to see that that's done as well.
Trustee Brown, would you like to weigh in on this discussion?
I'm in agreement for another set of eyes to evaluate it. Thank you.
Okay, well, we may, at some point have maybe a walk-on resolution for later this evening to have another traffic consultant. Obviously, the other traffic consultant that the village uses is Ryan Winter of VHB to come in and, look at the data that was collected over the summer and I believe it was 2 Memorial Days, and look at the raw data that was compiled and give us their evaluation of the numbers that were, again, compiled, and give us their expert opinion on what that means for traffic and the village and that area of the village specifically.
Mayor,
So,
I can have that ready for consideration after the suggested resolution calendar.
okay, if you could do that, and again, we would probably set, an upper limit in terms of dollars on that, so that, and then we would talk to them and try and get them to come in with a reasonable number, but we would probably set an upper limit not to exceed something, so that we could pass a resolution this evening and then work with them to get a number that would be reasonable to the village.
Understood.
Thank you. All right, should we start with the suggested resolutions then?
Sure thing.
Unless there are any other comments from board members on that topic.
Thank you.
Okay.
Resolution number 1, resolved that the claims for the warrant dated September 26, 2023, totaling $185,378.90, warrant 89 general fund, $2,389,672.28, warrant H4 capital fund, and $1,200 warrant T8 trust fund are hereby audited and approved. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. Resolution number 2, resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Incorporated Village of Southampton authorize the village administrator to publish the notice of public hearing to be held on Thursday, October 12th, 2023, at 6 p.m. regarding the 2024 Community Development Block Grant Program, CDBG. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. Resolution number 3, resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Incorporated Village of Southampton authorize the village clerk to publish a notice of public hearing to be held on Thursday, November 9th, 2023, at 6 p.m. as a hybrid in-person/Zoom meeting regarding local law 17/2023, the proposal to amend Chapter 116, Attachment 1, Table of Zoning Map Amendments, which will amend the zoning map for the village pursuant to Section 116-39 of the Village Code, and which will reclassify areas along Meadow Lane that are now in the R80 residential district to instead be included in the R120 residential district. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. Resolution number 4, resolved the Board of Trustees authorizes Mayor Manger to execute the Town of Southampton Water Quality Project Funding Award Agreement for the Algae Harvester Phase 1. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second?
Discussion.
Discussion.
Is this the actual contract?
This is the proposed contract with the town that allows the village to receive 20% of funds
Funds.
received by the town.
Okay, all right, okay. All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. Resolution number 5. Resolve the Board of Trustees approves the expenditure of $7,358.68 to Printing House Press, PHP, for the reproduction of documents needed for the litigation regarding Bliss versus the town, village of Southampton. Lowest quote received to be paid from A 1930.4, which is village claims. Is there a motion?
Motion?
Second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. Resolution number 6, resolved that the Board of Trustees approves Mayor Manger to execute an amendment to the Cooper's Beach concession contract subject to approval of council. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second?
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 Discussion, could you explain what this is doing, Council,
Sure,
please?
Of course, Mayor. This is a very minor revision to the contract that's in place with already, and it clarifies 2 paragraphs in the contract that the state liquor authority took issue with as being potentially unclear regarding the term of the contract, which is 3 years with a optional 4th-year extension. And it simply clarifies those. There is a copy in the agenda packet as well.
So this is not materially changing the agreement, the contract, the lease, concession lease.
In my opinion, it doesn't change it at all. It simply clarifies the terms of the contract that's already in place.
And this was requested by the State Liquor Authority.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. Resolution number 7, resolved the Board of Trustees approves the formal request submitted by Chief Hertow, Southampton Village Police Department, to increase the rate of pay for Rovit Morales and Donna Bennett when they serve as code enforcement officers to $32 per hour effective September 26, 2023, after their successful completion and final certification of code enforcement training. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. Resolution number 8, resolve the Board of Trustees accepts the resignation of Southampton Village volunteer ambulance member Erin Perrier effective September 25th, 2023. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. Resolution number 9, resolve the Board of Trustees accepts the letter of resignation from William Owen, laborer in the Parks Department, effective October 24th, 2023. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. Resolution number 10, resolve the Board of Trustees approves the Southampton Intermediate School to host 6th grade day at Downs Family Park on Friday, September 29th from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. The rain date will be set for Monday, October 2nd, 2023 from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second. All in favor? Any opposed? Unanimous. Resolve number 11, resolve the Board of Trustees approves the 5th annual Juneteenth ceremony to be held at Agawam Park on Wednesday night, June 19th, 2024, through Friday, June 21st, 2024, from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. Is that, I guess it's a
That-
multiple day.
Yeah, I just
When is
noticed that.
actual
I didn't
Juneteenth?
notice that before.
Well, is there a motion?
I'll
Oh,
make the motion.
Second?
second.
Discussion, I guess? Is there a discussion? Should we ask Kathy to clarify, just to confirm that that is the...
Yeah, that doesn't seem
All right,
right to
let
me.
me see. if
Yeah, I
Kathy-
wanna-
I didn't catch that
I want to make sure
before.
that that's when different organizations are wanting to hold different ceremonies at the park.
That's on a 3 to 2 date, is it?
It's a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, it
Yeah,
seemed,
that
yeah.
doesn't seem right to me.
Mayor, would you like to table that for consideration
Yes.
later?
Sure.
Is there a motion to table?
Which I mean,
I'll second the motion to table.
All in favor?
wait.
Aye.
Oh,
I'm sorry, I just spoke to Kathy. She said that they did request the 3 days, and she said that that Friday is election day.
And when is actual, when,
Juneteenth is Wednesday, the 19th, and they will have festivities all 3 days.
I see.
And they reassured me that there would not be any conflict at the cultural center during the election, because I advised that the cultural center will be off limits to be utilized for any activities because it's the election site.
Right.
So we do have time to table it if we'd like to table it, if you'd like to speak with them.
Denise,
Ah.
is it Denise Smith?
Yes.
Yeah, I'd like to have a little discussion because it is election day.
Okay, why don't we table this and bring it up at the next meeting?
Okay, so motion to table, Mayor Warren?
Yep.
Warren, oh my God. Mayor Manger,
Oh.
table.
Second.
Second. All in favor of tabling?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution number 12. The Board of Trustees approves the request received from East End Hospice to host a Tree of Lights memorial service at Agawam Park on Saturday, December 2nd, 2023, from 1 to 4 p.m. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second?
Second,
All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Unanimous. Resolution number 13, whereas the Board of Trustees authorized the village clerk to issue a request for bid for interested parties regarding the purchase of a used wheeled excavator for the village of Southampton to review submitted proposals received by Village Hall by notice of public bid with a deadline of September 15th, 2023 at 12 p.m. and to make recommendations to the board regarding applicants. And whereas the village clerk has received one bid application and has made the recommendation to the board, now therefore be it resolved, the Board of Trustees awards the contract to Coastal Contracting to purchase a used wheeled excavator at a cost of $198,000 for our Department of Public Works. Is there a motion?
Motion?
Second?
Second,
Discussion, this item is included in the capital budget.
Yes.
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 Thank you.
yep. And this is also very much needed to clean out the sumps, which is causing some of the problems that we're having with flooding. And so I'm very excited that they're going to be able to start working on cleaning out those sumps quickly.
So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Andrew, you have a supplemental?
Is there a motion for a walk-on resolution?
Yes, I'll make the motion.
Second?
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Trustee Brown, I'm sorry, I didn't hear your vote.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
A suggested resolution, resolved, the Board of Trustees authorizes Mayor Manger or his designee to execute a contract with VHB Engineering to review the Nelson Pope Pond Lane traffic study dated June 29, 2023, together with associated documentation in an amount not to exceed $8,000 and subject to approval of council. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second?
second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimously approved.
Okay. Were there any other walk-ons that we were trying to look to? No.
That was it.
All right, so then we'll go to comments from board members, and we will start with trustee Aresta.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First, I'd like to thank Patty Dwyer for such a very thorough report. Appreciate all that hard work, and she gets that data that's needed to help us make our decisions. I'm happy to report there was minimal damage from the storm this past weekend. The DPW is still in the process of cleaning up. They've had to remove 3 to 4 trees that were actually dead, and any resident that needs some, if they missed something, please call the Parks Department. If they need to have a tree or branch or something removed because of the storm, they'd be, and they would take care of that. Also, we have somebody coming to give a price finally on the remediation of the front of Village Hall to start the restoration on this building here. I'm also very excited about the bond that Charlene had mentioned later, so we could begin our sustainability project. And I believe also with this building, they're coming to assess some of the windows and the restoration of the historic windows that are in this this building in Village Hall. So, and the other big thing that's happening this weekend is the Southampton Fest, which is going to have a kickoff from the Rotary. Well, I guess you're not going to see this, but the kickoff from the Rotary Party on Friday night. They're going to have a cocktail party It's going to be actually at the Arts Center. Usually it's in Agawam Park, but they moved it. The kickoff party is going to be at the SAC. That's going to be 6:30 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. There's going to be a great band there and lots of cocktails and hors d'oeuvres. You could purchase your tickets from the Rotary, or we have them at Village Hall. Where else, Charlene, do we get the tickets for that?
We have a few at Village Hall, but the
Yes.
Rotary has them.
The Rotary has them, but you could also get a ticket for the kickoff party here at Village Hall.
And I think you can buy them at the door as well.
And buy them at the door. Okay, thank you. So lots of great things happening. And as it was mentioned before, I think it was mentioned before, anyway, there's going to be a Ferris wheel. That's a new addition to September Fest. It's going to be to the side of where the Cannon Monument is, on Job's Lane. Jim is going to be around. The Windmill Firehouse is going to do all kinds of activities with the fire trucks, and there's going to be bands playing, and there's the chowder contest is back, which is always fun, and lots of things. You can find the schedule for Southampton Fest on the website, and I think the weather's going to be good, so I don't think we have to worry about that. And it's a great time for all our stores in town. I'm sure Roy, you'll be participating too, and you can have some of your merchandise outside, and there's activities that different store owners have as well. So we hope to see everybody out there this weekend. It should be a good one.
And don't forget to fill out an application
Oh.
for the sidewalk sale,
Yeah.
which Roy did.
Very good, Trustee Stevenson.
Okay. Always in compliance.
All right, thank you, Trustee Resta. We'll go to Trustee Brown.
Good evening, everyone. I'd just like to take a moment just to thank the heroic efforts of our dispatchers as well as our police officers. As those may know, that there was a ocean rescue, and we're so grateful to our dispatchers. There was a sailboat that was in distress and was sighted at Cooper's Beach. We want to thank Brian LaMonica and Christian Boniski. I hope I said their names correctly, the dispatchers that were part of the team. And we also want to thank our drone operator, Kyle McGinnis, that was following the sailboat that was in distress. We also want to thank Police Officer Nick Aquino, was at the beach there and watching and following along the shoreline until they were able to be rescued by Suffolk County Aviation and the United States Coast Guard. So we just want to salute all those for standing in and doing what they do best. Happy that it was a successful rescue, and we're grateful that we were prepared and had all the tools necessary, and so it was a happy ending. So we just want to take that time to salute them and thank them. And we are looking forward to Southampton Fest. And we just want to thank the team and all of those on the committee that have put in such hard work. It's going to be quite exciting. So we thank you all as well.
Thank you, Trustee Brown. We'll go to Trustee Stevenson.
Thank you, Mayor. I spoke today with Southampton Village Fire Department Chief Escobar, and he let me know that upcoming is the Fire Prevention Month, and the SVFD will be busy in schools educating students about how to improve fire safety, and also taking students to get tours of the police and fire departments. On a sadder note, I'd like to recognize two long-standing members of the Southampton Village Fire Department who recently passed away. Mr. Randall Herring passed away on August 26th. He was a member of Hook and Ladder Company 1. He joined the Southampton Village Fire Department in March of 1961. So he
Wow.
put in 62 and a half years of service. And he was an active member of the rescue squad until his death. He was 94 years old. Raymond Tereski, member of Hook and Ladder Company number 1, joined in April of '72. He had 35 years of service. and he served as captain between the years of 1981 and 1983. Raymond was also a Korean War veteran, served in the Navy, and was an usher at Our Lady of Poland Church until the day he passed away. So apparently, if you want to live to your 90s, it helps to join the Southampton Village Fire Department. But I
I
would
knew
like
that
to
was
express
coming.
my condolences to the families of these men and express the village's thanks to them for their many, many years of service to the village. They will be greatly missed, and people like this who take time out of their lives to do something for others the way these two men have done are really to be recognized and thanked. Second, what Trustee said about Southampton Fest, I'm really looking forward to it. Great opportunity to get out and explore the village and see what all the village merchants have to offer and just enjoy the festivities. And hopefully we've had the worst of the rain and we'll have a wonderful weekend. So looking forward to seeing everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Stevenson. We'll go to Trustee Zananti.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd also like to thank Patricia Dwyer for the elected official survey that she presented tonight. And I want to compliment this board for having contracted with her to do the study, which was a recommendation of the Budget Committee way back last spring, to have a third party provide research and context to the issue. Thank you. Secondly, I'd just like to report that we've decided to form a working group of a lot of institutional memory and know-how with respect to enhancing communications for both public safety and cell service. The working group is now composed of Chief Hertow and Dispatcher LaMonica, Manny Escobar and Polis from the fire department, Kyle McGinnis, the ambulance chief, and Ricky Fowler. As I say, a lot of institutional memory and know-how there, and hopefully we can make progress in this very complicated area. And thirdly, I would like to congratulate Charlene on her retirement.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Zananti. So I would like to say that last week, the village clerk and I, and even for a brief moment, the village attorney, Andrew Preston, was up in Lake Placid, New York, attending the New York Conference of Mayors conference that really covered a whole gamut of topics, and I did learn quite a bit, everything from sewers to funding to local laws to how you declare emergencies were topics of discussion. And again, I found it very informative, very worthwhile. It was a bit of a drive, but it was beautiful up there in the mountains. But I'm always glad to get back to Southampton, although I came back just in time for 4 days of rain. And speaking about rain, the work that people have seen going on at the what I call the triangle at the intersection of Windmill and Nugent, I've gotten a couple of calls about what's going on over there. We are installing a bioswale on that property, which is actually a CPF-acquired property, and that is to, again, hopefully clean some of the road runoff that is coming off there on Windmill Lane before it goes into the culvert that then runs down into Lake Agawam. So that bioswale, we got a grant for doing that work, and that should be completed later this fall. It will be low plantings and again an area that will treat road runoff again in that section along Windmill Lane. But so in case people are looking at that, wondering what's going on, that is what is taking place there. Trustee Stevenson and I are going to be guests of the fire department on Thursday night. Some of the fire commissioners are going to be there as well at the Hampton Road Firehouse to get an update and communicate with them on how things are going with the fire department. I would say things are going very well since we were able to work on the agreement, really the contract that we have with the fire commissioners to split the costs of running the Southampton Fire Department, especially in terms of the capital budget. Again, that seems to be running very well, and I believe most of the fire department is pleased with the way things have been running lately. And finally, I would also like to say that it's been a pleasure working with Charlene. Although I've only been mayor since July, I did get to work with her as a trustee for a year, and it's been a real pleasure working with a professional that has the caliber of Charlene Cagle-Betts. And she will be missed. It'll be hard to find someone to fill her shoes. We are working diligently to do that. We will be advertising for the position. But Charlene, you're not getting to leave quite yet. As I said, there is some more work to be done before you leave. And we are hoping that you will stay on and help with the treasurer's position, because we still need a little help in that department, because again, your skill set is so high that it's very hard to find someone to be able to fill those shoes. But again, Charlene, we thank you very much for all that you've done for the village of Southampton.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And with that, I would like to ask for a motion to adjourn to executive session to discuss legal and contractual matters.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. No action was taken. I am looking for a motion, I guess, to come out of executive session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and now I am looking for a motion to close the Board of Trustees meeting for this evening. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. Good night.